A very good morning, everybody. I hope everybody are doing good. For today's session, we will discuss about the left lung. So before I talk about the left lung, I just want to have a revision of the lungs which was previously taken by our professors. See, lungs are the pair of essential organs of the respiration, and the lung is porous and it is highly elastic, sponge in texture. Um, it crepitates to touch and floats on water. And when you see the color of the color of the lung is rosy pink in newborn, and it becomes to grayish black color in the adults due to the deposition of the carbon particles. And next we have the parts like the lung has got it is a conical shape structure which has got an apex, base, the costal, mediastinal surfaces, and three borders like anterior, posterior, and inferior. So it has got an apex, base, then it has got the surfaces like costal surface, medial surface. Next, it also has got the borders like anterior border, posterior border, and inferior border. I don't want to go into details about this, and I think all you know people, all you people are aware of these presenting parts of the lung, and also you know about the side determination of the lung. Now, coming to details about the left lung, if you see the left lung, the left lung has got again the same structures what you have studied in right. You have the same, but I want to more focusedly emphasize on the mediastinal surface of the left lung. Already you know what are the structures you see on the medial surface of right lung. Now today we will discuss about the medial surface, mediastinal surface of the left lung. Now when you see the medial surface of left lung, now you see a structure which is called as the hilum. So this is the hilum. So hilum is nothing but where you see the structures enters into the enters into the lung or leaves the lung. That particular point is called as the hilum. Okay. So there are some structures which are arranged at the hilum. So the structures which are arranged at the hilum are, from above downwards. If you see, first we will have the left principal bronchi, then we'll have the pulmonary vein, then we will have the pulmonary artery. So from above downwards, here we have the structures like this is left, this is the left principal bronchi. Okay, this is the left principal bronchi. Okay, then these are the pulmonary veins, and this is the pulmonary artery. So from above downwards, first we have the pulmonary artery, then we have the the pulmonary bronchus, then we have the pulmonary vein. So artery, bronchus, vein, these are the structures which are arranged at the hilum in the left lung from above downwards. The same way, when you see the structures from before backwards, from anterior to posterior, if you see from before backwards, first we will have the pulmonary vein, then the pulmonary artery, then the bronchus. So vein, artery, bronchus. So from before backwards, we have the pulmonary vein, pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary bronchus. Clear? The principal bronchus. So vein, artery, bronchus from anterior to posterior. From above downwards, you will have the artery, then we will have the bronchus, then we will have the vein. So this is the order of the arrangement. Then next, when you see not only this hilum, you have some structures over here. You have the cardiac impression. The cardiac impression is this one, which is more deeply concave than that of right lung, because the heart is bulges more to the left side. And not only that, you also see the cardiac impression of the heart, the cardiac impression will also have the related to the left ventricle. It is also related to the a part of right ventricle. Okay. Not only that, you also have some grooves. You have some grooves in the left lung. These grooves, like this is the groove for the aorta. This is descending aorta. This is arch of aorta. Just above this arch of aorta, you see one more vertical groove. This is the left subclavian artery. Then this is the esophageal groove. Okay. And not only this, as I said, a well-defined groove arches backwards above the hilum. So above the hilum you have this arch, which is for the arch of aorta. And not only that, you also see the nerves related to the medial surface of left lung. Like you will have the left phrenic nerve, and also you have the inferior cervical cardiac branch of left vagus nerve. Then you have the superior cervical cardiac branch of left sympathetic trunk, left vagus nerve. All these are the nerves which are related to the medial surface of the left lung. So not only this, you also see the veins also related to the left lung. The veins are like the left superior intercostal vein. Then we will have the left brachiocephalic vein. Okay. All these are the veins which you see in relation to the medial surface of the left lung. Clear. Next, when you see here the main difference of the right and left lung, if you see the left lung, the major relations of left lung is arteries. So you see the descending aorta, you see the arch of aorta, you see the subclavian artery. Okay, these are the relations which are seen along the left lung. But when you see on the right lung major relations are the veins, the right brachiocephalic vein, the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava, then the azygous vein, the arch of azygous vein. All these are the veins which are related to the right lung. So here the major difference you have to observe is the right lung is more dominated by the arteries. So majority of the red colored structures are seen on the left lung, whereas in the right lung you see the veins, so that the blue color is dominated on the right side. This is very easy, and this is the point which you have to remember to know the structures related on the medial surface of the right and left lung. Okay. Next, to move on to the structures, arrangement of the structures at the hilum. So this is the hilum. This is the hilum of left lung. This is the hilum of the right lung. So as I told you, as I told you that the structures at the hilum on the right and left lung are already discussed. Again, we will discuss. Now here on the left lung, this is the pulmonary artery. These are the pulmonary veins, and this one is the bronchus, principal bronchus. Clear? So from above downwards, you will have the artery, then you will have the bronchus, then you will have the vein. So from above downwards, pulmonary artery, left principal bronchus, then you have the inferior pulmonary vein. So before backwards, vein, artery, bronchus, vein, artery, bronchus. The same way, if you see on the on the right side, lung, the arrangement of the structures will be like, first we will have from above downwards, if you see, you will have the bronchus, then you will have the artery, then you will have the again principal bronchus, then you will have the vein. So bronchus, this is eparterial bronchus, this is pulmonary artery, this is eparterial bronchus, this is lower pulmonary vein. So bronchus, artery, bronchus, vein, eparterial bronchus, pulmonary artery, eparterial bronchus, and the lower pulmonary vein. These are the structures arranged from above downwards. From before backwards, if you see, again it is same, like you have the vein, artery, bronchus. So this is the arrangement of the structures at the hilum of the right and left lung. So this is all the revision of the structures on the medial surface of the right and left lung. So now we will have the discussion of the left lung using the left lung specimen to see all the gross features present on this organ. Okay, let's move. Okay, now this is the left lung which you are seeing. See, the left lung is it's longer, narrower and less capacious when compared with the right lung. The weight is about 565 grams. It has two lobes, it has two lobes separated by one oblique fissure. This is the oblique fissure, this is upper lobe, this is lower lobe. The base is shallow. The base is shallow, okay, and it has got the other presenting parts, like this is the apex, this is the base, this is the posterior border, and this is the anterior border. Then this surface is the costal surface, and this surface is the medial surface of the left lung. Now coming to the details about the left lung on the medial surface. Before I go into the medial surface, we'll talk about the borders once. See, this is the anterior border. The anterior border is very thin, and it is the sandwich between the anterior thoracic wall and the pericardium. So this will be presenting as a sandwich between the anterior thoracic wall and the pericardium, and this anterior border of right lung follows costomediastinal reflections of pleura, whereas the anterior border of left lung follows the reflection up to the fourth costal cartilages. So this anterior border of the left lung, it follows the reflection up to the fourth costal cartilage. Then it deviates laterally. Then it is deviating laterally about 3.5 centimeters, and then it turns downwards and medially, forming the cardiac notch. So this anterior border, if you see, it is not straight as right lung. The anterior border, after reaching to the fourth costal cartilage, it turns, or it deviates laterally and forms a notch which is called as the cardiac notch. And this is the cardiac notch, and this is the lingula. This is the tongue-like projection which is called as the lingula. Next, coming to the posterior border. The posterior border is thick. The posterior border is thick, rounded, and it is occupied in the paravertebral gutter, and it is related to the anterior margins of heads of upper 10 ribs. And not only that, the sympathetic trunk and the origins of greater and lesser splanchnic nerves. This is about the posterior border. Then coming to this is the inferior border. This entire thing is the inferior. Can you see this one? This is the inferior border. So this inferior border, it is which is separating the base of the lung from the costal surface. So this is the base of the lung, and this is the costal surface. So this inferior border separates this costal surface from the base of the lung. Clear? Next, the medial surface, costal surfaces and the medial surfaces. Clear? This is about the borders: anterior border, posterior border, and the inferior border. Clear? Then, when we talk about the surfaces, in the surfaces, I will talk about the medial surface. So this is the medial surface of the left lung, and this is the hilum of the left lung. Okay. So here you can see, this is the bronchus. This is the left principal bronchus. This is the artery, and this is the vein. This is one vein, and here you have one vein. Clear? So this is pulmonary vein, this is one pulmonary vein, and this is the pulmonary artery, and this is the bronchus. Clear? Yeah. These are the structures you see at the hilum, and this is the pulmonary ligament. This is the pulmonary ligament, which is the extension of the visceral pleura, downward extension. So this pulmonary ligament, it contains the loose areolar tissues, and sometimes it also contains some accessory bronchial vessels are seen in this pulmonary ligament. Now coming to the impressions, if you see the impressions, I think you all know the order. So from above downwards you have the pulmonary artery, above downwards you have the left pulmonary artery, then we have the principal bronchus, then we have the pulmonary vein. So artery, bronchus, vein, these are the relations of the structures at the hilum of the left lung. From above downwards, artery, bronchus, vein. From before backwards, we have the vein. So, this is the vein, artery, bronchus. Vein, artery, bronchus from before backwards. Above downwards is artery, bronchus, vein. These are the relations. Then we have this impression. This impression is called as a cardiac impression. This entire thing is called as the cardiac impression. This is the anterior border. This is the cardiac impression. This cardiac impression, it is more deeply concave than the right lung. When you see the cardiac impression of right lung, and when you differentiate the cardiac impression of the left lung, it is more concave because the heart bulges more onto the left side, and this surface will be related to, it is related to the, mostly it is related with the, the left ventricle. Then it is also related to the anterior surface of the right ventricle. Okay, this structure is related to the left ventricle, and also a part of the anterior surface of the right ventricle are related to this cardiac impression. And just a groove passes upwards in front of the hilum. This one, in front of the hilum there is a groove. So a groove passes upwards in front of the hilum. Upper part of cardiac impression, this is cardiac impression, just upper part of cardiac impression in front of the hilum, this is hilum. In front of the hilum, above the cardiac impression, there is a vertical groove, and this groove is meant to lodge the pulmonary trunk. So the pulmonary trunk will be lodged like this. So in front of the hilum, above the cardiac impression, there is a groove which is meant to lodgement of the pulmonary trunk. Okay. Then you also have a groove which arches backwards above the hilum. So here, this one, can you see here this one? So there is a groove which is arching above the hilum and back of the hilum. This groove is meant for the lodgement of the arch of aorta. So this is the arch of aorta. So there is a groove which is well defined groove which is present above the hilum and back of the hilum, which is meant for the arch of aorta. You can see this depression. This is meant for the arch of aorta, and this arch of aorta, it continues as a descending aorta. So this is meant for the descending aorta. And here between the arch of aorta and the lung, between this arch of aorta and the lung, we have some structures which are intervening. Like the first, we have the nerves. The nerves between the arch of aorta and the hilum, between this arch of aorta and the hilum, there are some nerves are intervened. You have the left phrenic nerve, then the left cervical cardiac branch of left vagus nerve, superior cervical cardiac branch of left sympathetic trunk, and also left vagus nerve. All these are the nerves which are related or they are present between this the groove for arch of aorta and the hilum. Between this groove for arch of aorta and hilum, these are the nerves. I repeat, the left phrenic nerve, the left vagus nerve, and you also have the inferior cervical cardiac branch of left vagus nerve. These are the nerves which intervenes between the groove for the arch of aorta and the hilum. Then not only that, you have some impression for the veins also. The left superior intercostal vein, which passes forwards, upwards, superficial to the left vagus nerve. Okay, and also we have the groove for the the left brachiocephalic vein. Here we have the left brachiocephalic vein. The groove for the left brachiocephalic vein will be here. This is the groove for the left brachiocephalic vein. Then a vertical groove which runs behind the hilum and the pulmonary ligament, which is meant to the Lord's descending aorta. So this one, but this is pulmonary ligament. As I said, this is a pulmonary ligament. Between the pulmonary ligament, okay, and behind the hilum and the pulmonary ligament, you see this groove which is for the descending aorta. Okay. Then from the arch of aorta, a vertical groove extends towards apex of the lung for the lodgement of the left subclavian artery here. So this is the arch groove for arch of aorta. From the arch of aorta, you see this is a vertical groove. This is the vertical groove. This vertical groove is meant for the left subclavian artery. Left subclavian artery. In front of the artery, there lies a shallow vertical groove for the brachiocephalic vein. See everybody. This is the arch of aorta, groove for arch of aorta. This is the vertical groove which is for the left subclavian artery. In front of this is the groove for the left brachiocephalic vein. Left brachiocephalic vein. Left brachiocephalic vein. Yeah. So this is for the left subclavian artery, and in front of this is for the left subclavian vein. Left brachiocephalic vein. Clear? Groove for the left subclavian artery, and this is the groove for the left brachiocephalic vein. Okay. Then above the aortic arch and behind the left subclavian artery, above the aortic arch and behind the left subclavian artery, we will have the lodgement for the esophagus and thoracic duct. So this is the groove for the left subclavian artery. Behind this groove for left subclavian artery, there is a shallow groove which is meant for the the contact of the left edge of esophagus, contact for the left edge of esophagus and the thoracic duct. Then a shallow groove runs downwards and forwards between the descending thoracic aorta and left pulmonary ligament, and it is lodged for the esophagus here. So here you will have the shallow groove. So that runs downwards, forwards between the descending aorta and the pulmonary ligament. Between the descending aorta and the pulmonary ligament, there is a shallow vertical groove which runs, which is meant to the lodgement of the esophagus. So that esophagus is twice related to the left lung. It is related at the apex, and between the pulmonary ligament and descending aorta, there is also a groove which is related to the left the esophagus. This is all about the relation. So we have the cardiac impression, which is meant for the left ventricle and a part of the right ventricle, and this is aortic impression, which is for the arch of aorta and descending aorta. And just in front of the aortic arch, we have the left subclavian artery impression. In front of it, we have the left brachiocephalic trunk. Behind this, it is related to the left edge of esophagus and thoracic duct. And this is the pulmonary ligament, and this is the hilum. In the hilum, you know what the structures are related. This is all about the relations on the medial surface of the left lung. Clear? Yeah. The right lung is shorter, wider and more capacious, whereas the left lung is longer, narrow and less capacious. The weight of right lung is 625 grams. The weight of the left lung is about 565 grams. Right lung has got 3 lobes separated by 2 fissures. Left lung has got 2 lobes separated by 1 fissure. The base of right lung is more concave, whereas the base of the left lung is shallow. The right lung absence of cardiac notch is seen, whereas left lung will have the presence of cardiac notch. Next, the arrangement of the hilum from above downwards, bronchus artery, bronchus vein in case of right lung, whereas in the left lung, artery, bronchus vein. The cardiac impression is shallow in case of right lung, whereas the cardiac impression on the left lung is deep. Absence of lingula is seen on right lung, presence of lingula is seen on the left lung. Okay, and the supply, the arterial supply to right lung is usually by the one bronchial artery, whereas the left lung is supplied by 2 bronchial arteries. This is the brief differences between right lung and left lung. Next, we will move on to the clinical aspects. The thoracic inlet syndrome. So, if there are any tumors affecting the upper lobe of any lung, may produce thoracic inlet syndrome due to the compression of the structures around the apex. It is manifested by, like the venous engorgement and edema of the face and upper limb on the affected side. Then diminished pulsations at the wrist due to the compression of the subclavian artery. Paralysis of hemidiaphragm due to the involvement of phrenic nerve. Hoarseness of voice resulting from the compression of the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So, if a tumor is affected by the upper lobe of the lung, that produces the thoracic inlet syndrome, and this will compress the nerves, arteries and veins which are related to the apex of the lung. There are three main types of thoracic inlet syndrome. One is the neurogenic. Neurogenic means it is the most common and presented with the pain and weakness with the involvement of the nerves. If the veins are involved, then it is called as the venous type. In the venous type, resulting in swelling, pain and the possibility of bluish coloration of the arm. The third type is arterial type, where involvement of arteries and resulting in the pain, coldness and also paleness of the arm. These are the three types of three types of thoracic inlet syndrome you can see. And the causes of this thoracic inlet syndrome is caused due to trauma, or else it is caused due to the repetitive arm movements, or it is due to the tumors, or else it is also caused due to the cervical rib. Due to the presence of cervical rib also will cause the thoracic inlet syndrome. And the treatment for this syndrome is like the physiotherapy, the exercise is recommended, or else it may be given with the non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs, and if it is necessary they may also recommend for the surgeries. These are all the possible treatments which may be done to thoracic inlet syndrome. The next is the Simpson's fascia. The Simpson's fascia is also called as the suprapleural membrane. Now, the Simpson's fascia is a strong facial connective tissue layer which is present above the superior thoracic aperture on each side, placed on the apices of the lung. So, above the apex of the lung, there is a strong facial connective tissue which is called as Simpson's fascia. If you see the direction of this fascia, it slopes downwards towards the inlet of the thorax. It slopes downwards towards the horizontal to the inlet of the thorax, and it is an incomplete diaphragm derived from the endothoracic fascia. Next, it can be said to be an extension of the tendinous attachment of scalenus minimus muscle. So some book says that this is nothing but this is an extension of the tendinous attachment of scalenus minimus muscle. The shape of this fascia is triangular in shape. Now coming to the attachments, if you see, the apex of this Simpson's fascia is attached to the tip of this transverse process of 7th cervical vertebra, and the base of this is attached to the medial margin of the first rib along its costal cartilage. So I repeat, when you see the attachments of the Simpson's fascia, laterally it is attached to the first rib, medially it is merging with the mediastinal pleura, posteriorly it is attached to the transverse process of 7th cervical vertebra, inferiorly it is attached to the dome of the cervical pleura of the lung, superiorly it is related to the structures at the base of the neck, example like subclavian vessels. These are the attachments of the Simpson's fascia. Now, what are the functions of the Simpson's fascia? The Simpson's fascia functions are like it protects the cervical pleura, number one. Number two is the most important is it resists the intrathoracic pressure at the times of respiration, and consequently the root of the neck is not puffed up and down during respiration. So what the root of the neck is not puffed up and down during the respiration. And next thing is that it gives rigidity to the thoracic inlet. So these are the functions of the Simpson's fascia. Simpson's fascia is also called as the suprapleural membrane. You have to know about its attachments, are very important, and also you should know about its function, which may be asked as a short note, and you have to be very thorough of it. Thank you.